Hello, everyone, and welcome to this issue of The Future is Here, where I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to have Andrei Postoaca with me from Ipsos Digital. Welcome, Andrei, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Thank you very much, Finn. It's an honor to be here.
Andrei, you've been involved in the business across different regions, from startups to corporations. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the trade and the things that you've been doing.
So I started in general in market research in '94, and but I think it's a lot of people started by coincidence, and so did I. So I was not really aware of what market research was before I before I started. And that was in Sweden, and I built a data collection company in Sweden in the '90s, and then beginning of 2000 or end of 90, beginning of 2000, I was looking at the online and started playing around with the idea of online data collection. So that was the next part of the journey.
And so now you're CEO of Ipsos Digital. How did the transition, if you like, from Romania to France, where you're now based, how did that happen, and what were the stages in that?
So Ipsos Digital was basically the creation of trying to get into the DIY market space, which we see a great opportunity in, and also very much making sure that we try to integrate all the flows in the research process, so we can really have a fully integrated flow. From me, the transition was from Sweden to France rather than from Romania, but it's nowadays where you live, where you work, where your teams are, it's very liquid. You can be wherever. So it's quite a pleasure, and I think a topic that we will need to discuss more about in this past COVID or in COVID times. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I mean, for many years, Ipsos traditionally had a very strong reputation in face-to-face field force, and it was one of its key strengths. But clearly, it has put in a huge amount of investment now into the digital offering. You acquired Askia a couple of years ago. In terms of its positioning in the business, that's clearly a desire to move to the digital offering, or to the increased digital offering that is now required?
I think it's the face-to-face. I think we're very much a data collection agnostic player, because we do face to face, we do telephone, we do online. When I started Ipsos Interactive Services in 2000, the online was the big discussion, and today online is a big portion of what we do. I think we will always try, first of all, to collect the views of the consumers, to collect the views of the citizens in the best possible way. Of course, also in the most efficient way, making sure that it's representative and is good quality. Okay, and in some cases it needs to be face to face. In some cases it's telephone. In some cases it's online. And in terms of the Ipsos Digital and the digitalization, I think we are looking at very much a focus on efficiency and a focus on decreasing the time of the project, decreasing the time of all the steps in between, and it is quite impressive how much faster we can deliver a project. Now we're talking about hours. We're no longer talking about days, weeks. So I think a normal project right now is delivered within 24 hours. Is nothing strange anymore, and 5 hours, 2 hours is absolutely doable. So I think our focus is very much, let's use all the data collection methods that we can, and let's make it as efficient as we ever can to use those, and let's do all the integration so we don't need to have unnecessary touch points.
And presumably that was equally one of the driving forces behind the acquisition of Askia, to build up, if you like, those efficiency resources that you could offer.
Absolutely. So, um, to some extent, the Ipsos is quite a big organization now, and building together with Askia the next big platform for collecting the views of the respondent is important. And we found in Askia, we found a very good team, very engaged people that have done this for 25 years, and I think it was a perfect match to really take it to the next level together with us. So yeah, that this will be a good future.
Fantastic. Now, clearly the last, 12 to 18 months have been extraordinary, I think for everyone, in terms of the pandemic and how businesses fared through it. How was it for Ipsos Digital? How was the pandemic, if there's such a question?
Exactly. It's very difficult because we started in 2018, end of 2018, let's say 2019. So our real start, when we had our first product on the platform, when we started really, was 2020. So we are really a COVID child from many perspectives. So we are born in COVID. We don't really know anything pre-COVID. So we only know this. This is our reality. So last year it was a good year. We did 7 million euros revenue, and this year we are looking at probably 4-5 times this number. But we have nothing to compare with. So we don't know if it was before COVID, if we would have done this 2018, would that number 7 million be 20 or would that number be 5? No idea. So what we see is clearly that clients are requesting more and more digitalization. Clients are requesting to have the flexibility to do more themselves if they want to. But this is not necessarily something, I mean, I believe that it is a little bit accelerated due to COVID, but we really don't have a comparison per se. And what, of course, we see is that there is a necessity of the digitalization and access to respondents because the face-to-face has been extremely limited or completely stopped. So that face-to-face business had to move to either CATI or online. Not to even mention the qualitative part of our business, which is a substantial business that also had to adapt very quickly and make sure that we can do qualitative research with respondents online with the same quality or with the same access to people. So yeah, for us, this is the only reality we know.
Well, I mean, firstly, congratulations on the numbers. I think last year, doing any sort of turnover, I guess, in COVID times is to be congratulated by all. And certainly, the numbers that you talk about for this year are very aggressive. So, I wish you lots of success with it. But hopefully the signs are good for that currently.
No, the signs are good. And I think the whole industry seems to be growing. We see clearly. So last year we had a lot of issues, of course, as everybody, but we also got a lot of clients that were eager to really understand what is the new reality. And to some extent, I think this year people are revalidating constantly the truth that they knew before, because the yesterday's number might not hold anymore, and you need to double check it and reconfirm it. And I think the consumers, what we see now, of course, is the consumers are changing behaviors. And this pandemic has been long enough to really change behavior. If it would have been just a couple of months, no behavior would have been changed. But now it has been so long that we are changing behavior. And that needs to be revalidated.
I think that's a great point, by the way. I'm also going to come back to you in a moment, perhaps, about some of the client demand and how that's changed, Andrei. But firstly, talking about that change in behavior, you mentioned to me when we were last chatting that you actually decided to do some work on that, and that you're about to or shortly going to publish a survey on some behavior. Can you firstly just tell us a little bit about the methodology of that survey, and then if I can impose on you maybe even for one or two sneak previews of one or two findings, it'll be great.
Yes, with pleasure. So we did just on Friday. We did a study in 9 countries in through the Ipsos digital platforms, and we asked people if they were working if they were office workers first of all. And then we focused on the office worker, understanding will they return to the office? How do they see the future of working from the office? And it is quite clear that a majority of the people would like to have the possibility of working from home more or less. So roughly 1/3 are clearly looking to return to the office. So 1/3 are saying, I want back to the office. That's full stop. But 50% are actually clearly saying that they want a reasonably good portion, 50-50 office and home, and that's quite a big number. And I think there we will see that we have passed that change of behavior milestone that people will want to have, and then what is another thing that is interesting is also to see that 40 to 50%, depending on the countries, are saying that that they are positively impacted by working from home, which is quite nice to see that it was not only negative. So a lot of people say that their work-life balance have become better, and they are spending more time with the family. You see all the people saying that it's nice to be able to have dinner with the family and things that, yeah, and the people that have normally traveled a lot, they will also be very positive not to be in planes as much. And that's also a question: how much did we really needed to go into those meetings in person, and how much could we have done through whatever Teams or whatever tools we use?
Yes.
And
I've often wondered, Andrei, how many expensive video conferencing systems that were bought 10 years ago and were collecting dust in boardrooms
Yes.
will now be dusted off and used again.
Yes, exactly. But of course, it's also a question of how long can you live on the relation capital that you have built. I mean, at one point, I think you need to. We are physical people. We want to meet in person. We build a stronger relation when we are in person. So that I think we need to find a new balance. But another number I'll share, which I was maybe a little bit surprised with, was we asked the question if people would look for a new job if they could not be allowed to work from home, and actually 25% said that they would look for a new job on average in those markets, and 40% in the UK. So that's yeah.
Wow.
So I think
as you say, the behavioral change.
Yeah, I think so. I think we have passed the point of no return when it comes to at least allowing certain flexibility in the working from home. And to some extent, if we have been able to do it for 1.5, 2 years now, why couldn't we allow people to do it going forward as well?
No, I think it's a fair point, and it's a great topic of conversation amongst other companies about redesigning their offices to facilitate that to a greater extent. Just a quick clarification, Andrei. That survey that you spoke to, it was global. It was run in 10 countries around the world.
Yeah, it was run in nine countries around the world. So it was UK, so the 5 European, China, US, Russia, India. So it was a reasonably good coverage, and quite nice to see that the numbers keep a certain logic in all regions, because we wanted to understand also Australia, that was not as hit by the COVID, China, that has another reality, and India, that is very hit by the COVID. So how were the numbers between the countries? So, and
Very
they keep
interesting.
a certain, they keep a very reasonable logic between the countries. So
And so this report, Andrei, when will it be published?
we will publish it in a couple of weeks. So let's say July, just to be on the safe side.
Sure.
And
So
yeah, we will share it. We
and
will
they can
share all
find
the.
it on. It'll be on the Ipsos website.
It will be on the Ipsos website. Yes,
So keep an eye out for that, and we'll certainly be sure to. If the
absolutely.
report is published by the time we publish the interview, we'll hopefully include the link at the end of the session for people to have a look at. So
Perfect.
that'll be great. And thank you for sharing that with us. I'm amazed at some of those numbers. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think people are seeing the positiveness out of the all negativeness that COVID had brought. So we are positive people in general, so we should see the positive part of this. There is always something positive with everything. So
I agree. And headlines tend to be, because it's better news. It's all about the downside, and yet here are some great numbers to support the, not necessarily the upside, but some of the, hopefully the unseen positives that have come from the pandemic.
yeah,
Um, I mentioned a little earlier on, I wanted to come back to the clients, Andrei. Clearly, the demand side of the business has evolved quite considerably. For Ipsos Digital, how has that manifested itself? What are the changes that you've seen in terms of client demand from the business?
the, to some extent there are clients. If I look just from an Ipsos Digital perspective, so there are clients that have wanted to do DIY, and for a certain number of years we have not offered this. So they have switched a certain business to other players, but they have kept an important business with us. Our great researchers around the world, our coverage has been something that has been well managed. And what we are trying to do, and what we are doing right now, we are first of all taking back that piece of business that our current clients went to other DIY players, and number two, which is very important, we are taking more and more new clients. We are focusing on making life a lot easier for new clients to go in and join, yeah, see our strengths, and that is important.
You know, um, there has been a comment that the pandemic has, if you like, facilitated or accelerated what people refer to as the age of platforms. Now, I'm always a little bit nervous about these sorts of expressions because I remember we talked about the age of mobile probably for 15 years. We weren't quite sure which year was the actual age of mobile. Do you think this is now the age of platforms? Is that becoming an essential part in the armory of insight providers?
Yes, totally. I think it's. I don't know if we should call it platforms or software eats everything, as Mark Andreessen is saying. But if clearly increasing in efficiency, increasing speed, can and is done through software. So I think a lot of companies will need to adapt and will need to be software first companies. Then mobile first definitely is and has been for quite some years, something that we need to accept, that especially the younger people, they are not even looking at a laptop anymore. So unless you are mobile in their mobile, you don't exist. And that's why successful companies like Snap, even Facebook, but even more TikTok now, are able to really get those target groups and be in their mobile. But from a business to business perspective, digitalizing and automizing everything, that you don't need to go between platforms, between systems, but everything is interconnected. You do one click here, it's propagated in the whole organization. It is the future. There is no way back from that.
And do you think just slightly off-piste, Andrei, but do you think that evolution will be consistent across all markets, or will there be some territories or countries that will struggle with that and others that will find it easier?
From a software perspective, I think it's...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think it's market independent. I think it will be everywhere. I think right now we're not talking about internet penetration anymore. We're not talking about anything. I mean, it's totally global. I was just reading today that Elon Musk is sending out tens of thousands of satellites in order to in an ambitious project to really make a global internet coverage. And even without that global internet coverage, which I think still we are in an early phase, because still we have issues with the internet and so on and so on. I think those issues will disappear completely 10 years from now. But even in those situations, you can access everything through your mobile. You can make it mobile friendly, and software systems totally integrated will make our life so much easier.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't it? It's that whole theory about the digital immigrant and the digital native, and how society has to basically assume and adapt all of the technological supports that exist nowadays.
Yeah.
The pandemic has, as you say, accelerated not only changes in business practices, but also in social behavior and how we work, as evidenced by some of the findings that you very kindly gave us a sneak preview of. Is there another trend or challenge on the horizon now, Andrei, that you see as one that we need to be aware of or conscious of as we hopefully move out of the pandemic and into the next era?
Except for the full digitalization part that I think is more and more evident. I would say one thing, another finding that we had was how were people interacting in terms of physical gestures, and how people would hug, shake hands, and so on, that completely disappeared with, or at least strongly decreased with the COVID. And what we see interesting is that change will not be a long-term change. So people are really wanting to go back to the same physical interactions as before. They want to go back to shaking hands, hug each other, and so on. But if we look at it from a business perspective, I think COVID have just accentuated the necessity of software, the necessity of total digitalization. So I think that's what, if we look at it once again from a positive perspective, I think COVID has accelerated the digitalization of companies with probably 5 years, because whoever was still thinking realized that there was no more time for thinking and they need to do it. Whoever was in the phase of doing it realized that they need to do it faster. Okay, and I think that there is no turning back from that perspective. We need to digitalize. We need to be fast. We need to cut out any inefficiency in our flows, which will be very positive for the people as well, because people will do more relevant, interesting tasks instead of boring, repetitive, unnecessary tasks. So that is something that is really, we should look at it from a positive perspective.
Agreed, and maybe even the loss, as you alluded to earlier, maybe even the loss of frequent flyer points is a positive, not a negative, right? So
Totally, totally, totally.
Two last questions, Andrei, and to kind of bank on your experience both as an entrepreneur and now as a business leader. If there was somebody who was trying to get through the digital transformation process and move into that digitalization sphere, from your experience, what would be your one piece of advice that you would give them?
I would always say, take something that is not working. Let's just stay in market research, just for the simplicity of it. There are so many things that could be digitalized in market research that are not yet digitalized. So take one problem and digitalize it, make it efficient, and make it a perfect stream. And that's a quite a simple way of attracting the eyes of all the clients in the industry. If we look outside the market research, the answer is the same: is look at a problem and make it efficient. And that's one good focus that I would say. So if I would say, you are a young entrepreneur now, what should I do in this industry? Well, take something that doesn't work well, digitalize it, make it work seamlessly. That's a simple success. Maybe not as easy to do, but
well, I think wise words, and look, you have the experience of having done that already. So and look at the success that it has brought you. So thank you, Andrei. Thank you for all of that. I guess before I say a final thank you to the audience, are there any last words you'd like to share, knowing that there will be some people watching this who have not been able to get outside their doors, and hopefully are hanging on every word that we've been saying during this video?
No, I think it's important to look a couple of years ahead. What is not functioning today? What can we do that will be the reality of tomorrow? And you can take it from two perspectives. One is, as I said before, make something that is not working better, or make something that is working but make it work a lot better. But also to think, how can we break new ground? How can we see in 5 years from now, what will this industry look like? What will be the challenges of this industry 5 years from now? And start solving it. And also, I think one important thing is to say that when we speak about software, when we speak about digitalization, it takes time, and you cannot stress it through. So in some cases, it doesn't matter how much money you are putting behind it, because it will still take X amount of years. And that's important to think, start small, early, rather than spend a lot of money late. So whoever starts thinking about small problems today, but that are aggravated, that will become big problems 5 years from now, and start solving them today, that will be a strong player 5 years from now.
Wise words on which to reflect, I think, for all of us. Andrei, thank you. Thank you for spending the time with us today. Thank you for sharing some of your thoughts, and also for sharing some of the sneak headlines from the survey. We'll be dying to look at that. And as I said, hopefully the report will be published by the time this video goes live, so that we can include the link. That's it for this week's episode of The Future is Here. My very sincere thanks to Andrei Postoaca, the CEO of Ipsos Digital. And please stay safe, stay well, and make sure that the business continues to grow. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ben. A pleasure.